Yes, my between the liners. Apologies if I was in front of the camera for the first few seconds. We're here today. Obviously, it's the Manchester United reality check. And the first ever video I ever actually did on the YouTube channel 3 years ago now was a Manchester United reality check. I'm just going to double check if the audio is alright before I carry on. And obviously, we're here today to discuss. I say we're here. I'm here to discuss the aftermath of Manchester United after last night's result. Let me just double check that everyone can hear this properly. Sounds pretty clear. If there's any issues, let me know in the live chat. And obviously, any other United fans that want to get involved, feel free to get involved in the live chat. This is just for us. Any rival fans that are here, I don't want to hear it. I guess we got to congratulate the Spurs boys. Shahan's messaging me right now. I'll tell you what he said. Shahan messaged me 5 minutes ago. Yeah, bear in mind, I've just played 2-hour footy sesh. I've had a shower. I've had dinner. You come home. You want to relax. You want to try to forget about the game. Shahan says, where are you? Where are you crying, G? Man's bare upset. Man's bare quiet. How are we a bigger club than you? Lol. We are so massive. Be honest, you hate Spurs, innit? How is that? How did he come to that conclusion when yesterday I sat next to him in this room and I praised Spurs in front of him? I said, congratulations. I was a graceful loser in this moment of this final. And yeah, obviously, he's trying to claim that I've been quiet. Anyway, this isn't about you, Shahan. Congratulations to Spurs again. Ange Postecoglou came out with one of the coldest quotes I've ever heard in my life. If any of you get in the live chat, feel free. I will be responding to you as much as I can. But like I said, this is for all of us. Every single United fan that's been going through the pain today. I've got so much to get off my chest. And as I was saying, 3 years ago, I dropped my first ever video on the channel. It was a Man United reality check. At the time, we had Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I think we just lost to Burnley or something. And yeah, I felt the need to start up a YouTube channel and get my feelings off my chest. And 3 years on, things have just got worse and worse. And honestly, in that moment, I didn't even think it could get this worse. 16th in the league. No European football next year. The first time in, I believe, in 35, sorry, it's the second time in 35 years, in Manchester United's last 35 years, that we haven't had European football. You know how sad that is? Just yesterday, for those of you that don't know, for those of you that might be watching for the first time, I've got an Old Trafford season ticket for next season onwards. I've had a cup season ticket for the last 3 seasons. I've been blessed with a Carabao Cup win in my first season, the FA Cup win in my second season. I was there in the final at Wembley. Go check out that vlog if you haven't already. And then obviously this season, in my third season as a cup season ticket holder, we've got all the way to the Europa League final. I was there for the quarter-final against Lyon. I was there for the semi-final against Bilbao. And now I didn't get a ticket for the final, but I've just been accepted as a full Old Trafford season ticket holder from next season onwards. I signed up, I paid 2 days before the final or the day before the final just to see us bow out of the Europa League final. Now I've got no Champions League football next year, no Europa League football next year. Like, it's crazy how that happens. And don't get me wrong, we've lost. We're out of the final. I get that. We've got no European football. But at the same time, in a way, I'm lucky. And I try to be as positive as I can, especially when it comes to Manchester United, supporting the team that I love. And it's meant to be my escape, and obviously it's been more harmful than escapism throughout this whole season. But it's hard to see any positivity for next season at the moment, especially the way the game panned out yesterday. But obviously it's really easy to be reactionary straight after a game. I'm not going to be the type of person that's going to be coming on here all emotional and ranting about Ruben Amorim and saying, get him out right now, because that's not what you're going to hear from me. I always try to back the managers and the players as much as I can, and the club as much as I can, because that's just the person I am. And I'll get into the Amorim situation in a bit, and we can discuss whether we should keep him or not, what we've seen right with him or not. I believe there's a live chat. Shout out Haroon in the live chat. No hiding now for these players. 16th, 17th, and no trophy. Got the squad completely and get a proper rebuild done. The thing is with that, Haroon, we've said that so many years, and it just doesn't happen. And I'm going to be speaking about INEOS later on in the show as well, because 1 year in on INEOS. Let's speak about it now. We've had INEOS for 1 year now. And like I said, I'm really positive. Maybe deludedly positive at most times. I try to see the best in people's actions, especially when it comes to Man United. INEOS have been here for 1 season now. We had the issue where, or was it 1 year? I think it's 1 year. It was last December they took over, I believe. So about over a year or so. Not last December, the December before that, or January before that. So it's been about a year and 4 or 5 months now, yeah? Since they've come in, obviously they got Dan Ashworth, they got rid of him. They paid to get him, they got rid of him. They had to pay to get him out. And for whatever reason that was, maybe he wanted Southgate in, maybe it was something like that. And obviously the Ten Hag situation, he won the FA Cup. They probably didn't want him. They kept him. They then sacked him in November anyway. They've then gone and got Ruben Amorim when he even said that he didn't want to sign up for the job right now. And then they said it's now or never. So they've backed him into a corner. It's very difficult to turn down Manchester United. It's very difficult to turn down the financial gain of that, the popularity that you're going to gain from that as well. And obviously the idea is to bring back Manchester United to where they belong, where we belong, which I truly do believe, by the way. But the Amorim project so far has failed ultimately, and that's another decision on INEOS. In the January transfer window, they'd sign a new manager, and between them, the manager, the board, whoever is in charge, they've also got rid of Rashford, Sancho, Anthony. And fair enough, they're not performing, I understand that. But the problem is, if you're going to get rid of them, you've just got a new manager in, you've not backed him at all. You signed a 19, 20-year-old left back, and then you've got rid of 3 attacking players, and you've left Amorim pretty weak. Like, he's got low strength and depth in the squad. Haroon says it hasn't happened because we've always had something, top 4 or a Carabao or an FA Cup. There's nothing to hide behind now. Yeah, not only top 4, even sometimes we had just Europa and no trophies, like under Oli, for example. But now, yeah, like you said, there's no hiding because obviously we finished 16th and possibly 17th by the weekend's over. It's never been as bad as this. I think we've lost 20 games in all competitions, I believe, and 18 in the league. And that's our 6th worst league season in history, in about 120 years of history. Like, do you know how embarrassing that is? This squad will go down as one of the worst ever squads in history. That's mental. And there's some good players in there, and good players that are failing to perform under the pressure of the badge. And you could even argue the system now, or the manager's formation, or maybe they've come back from injury and they haven't performed yet, such as Luke Shaw, for example. Maybe they can't handle the pressure, such as Garnacho hasn't scored in his last 19 goals at home, I believe, or something like that. So yeah, back to the INEOS situation. A year in, they've really not shown anything of positive note, to be honest. And like I said, I tried to see the positives, but what could I say? The only positive you could look out for, obviously in hindsight, it's easy to argue against, but at the moment you could say at least they went for Amorim rather than going for a dinosaur manager, for example, or maybe even rather than sticking it out with Ten Hag for the rest of the season, just to acknowledge or to fail to acknowledge that they made a mistake and then ride it out. Because I know Amorim's finished 16th. I know Ten Hag didn't finish 16th. And I have a lot of affinity for Ten Hag because I was there for the FA Cup final at Wembley and he masterminded that final. We don't actually know would Ten Hag have finished 16th this season himself, because at the time when he left, it was pretty dreadful. The football was dreadful. And yes, we've shown 2 seasons. He finished 3rd and then 6th, I believe. Or was it 8th? 3rd and then 8th, sorry. And then he got sacked off the back of the form last season was atrocious. The form at the start of this season was atrocious, and it just continued. So my point is, even Ten Hag might have finished 16th. We don't actually know. As much as I want to support him and back him, these players have shown that they're honestly not capable. You know what? Just a sidetrack. On some of the signings, INEOS, did they sign Ugarte as well? Was that Ten Hag? Or was that Amorim? Who signed Ugarte? Oh, Alex said, bro, turn the mic up. Is it better now, Alex? Since I've held it up, I believe it should be better now, right? Right? Because I can hear it. I'm on the stream pretty clearly. Anyway, like I was saying, we don't know. The players themselves will get into this horrible situation potentially even before Ten Hag, before Amorim came in, because we was on a downhill slide. And even if you look at the season, last season's metrics, such as the XG, such as how many points we were expected to get, I believe last season the league, the XG table or whatever you want to call it, had us predicted about 14th place anyway. So it might have ended up as bad as it has been, even with Ten Hag. And that's why I don't necessarily blame all of it on Amorim. And I think the players are mostly at fault because of the weight of the badge, because of their ability, because of their money, the financial situation, the money that they get. Maybe they don't have the hunger, they don't have the drive, the determination, they don't have the leadership skills, they don't have the ability to be at a big club of this standard like Manchester United. But it's also, that is down to the culture of the club that the Glazers have set out since the last 20 odd years or 17 years that they've been in charge of United. I think it's 20 years now. Since the last 20 years that the Glazers have been in charge of the club, they've completely neglected it, and the culture that is set in from their management at the top has led to what it is on the pitch in front of you, even though you've got decent players on your side. Haroon said INEOS signed Ugarte, Ten Hag didn't want him, he wanted to keep McTominay. And I guess that goes back to my point of what have INEOS actually done right so far, except maybe hire Amorim, who was supposedly the next big thing, and obviously he was doing well in Portugal or whatever. So INEOS signed Ugarte, and he can't even get into the team in the Europa League final, the biggest game of the season. Another interesting thing about that is he was actually Amorim's player at Sporting Lisbon, I believe, and obviously he played regularly. You know what? Should we take it into the game? Let's take it into the game. I'm talking too much about the other things. And like I said, like I was saying in the beginning, 3 years ago, I started the reality check. It's now necessary that 3 years on, this is probably like the 15th or 20th reality check I've done in 3 years. And somehow we've just got worse and worse. When I started this channel, I didn't think it would be this bad. We had Ollie and we was lingering around top four, and then he got sacked and Ragnick came in, and that was a disaster, obviously. But at least we had European football every season. At least we were challenging for trophies. Obviously, Ollie failed in the final because of De Gea, mostly. And obviously, tactically, he probably didn't do enough to win that final like he should have done. But we were so close, and at least we're there. Now, we've got to Europa League final. We're 16th in the league. No European football next year. I can't believe it. Not even conference. Yeah, it's an absolute disgrace. Let's take it into the game because I've got so many thoughts on the game. And I guess you can start from the back and move your way upwards because the Onana brothers have to pay for their crimes. Naib, Haroon, Ryan, you all said we should keep Onana. And at the time, I told you he didn't fill me with confidence. And he's proven me right time in, time out. Every single game, he looks so nervous. Even in the beginning of the game, we had Dom on the live stream when we was doing a live watch-along. He was saying he looks nervous from the beginning. And to be honest, so did Vicario, I thought. So both of them obviously have howlers in their locker. But how many times are you going to see someone make a mistake and then still allow it to happen? And I can't really blame Amorim on this because he's coming in and Onana's his keeper, obviously the first choice. You can't really play Bayande because he doesn't play enough games to show that he's a competent keeper. He's not done amazingly when he's come in. Tom Heaton, who's actually fairly competent, I thought, whenever he's played, he's actually looked fairly competent. But obviously, he's quite older now. He's coming as a third choice keeper. We're not expecting him to start. Onana's made mistake after mistake, and we can't do nothing about it. And I hope the club goes out. We're so desperate for stability in the core areas. A keeper, a main centre-back, a main centre-mid, and a potent striker, a big striker. The core needs to be strengthened. Shout out Eric the King, 66. He said, we need the Glazers out. The only thing that has remotely wobbled them was the Liverpool game getting called off. We need more of that starting with Villa. You know what, Eric? I think you're completely right. And the thing is, they're probably getting so much turnover from Manchester United. They're happy to take out a director's cut, a dividend of 10, 15 million a year, and it not be an issue. They don't care. As long as the turnover's there, Man United don't even have to make profit because they'll happily take out dividends. Well, they'll probably take out dividends anyway. But even if we didn't make a profit, they'll probably take out dividends from the revenue anyway, 10, 50 million. And I know the last 2 years it's been frozen. They haven't taken out dividends. But if they wanted to, even if we were this bad and consistently 12th, 13th, languishing around mid-table, I'm sure they'll be happy to take out money from the club. They don't care. And you're completely right, though. We do need to get them out. And I agree with you. But I'm to blame for this as well. I know what Eric's saying. We should be not turning up to the Villa game or standing outside the crowd, the stadium, and protest against the Glazers. Don't go into the game. Don't buy the tickets for the game. But the thing is, we've got so much demand. We have such a large fan base. I'm a London United fan. There's plenty of London United fans as well. There's Man United fans from all around the world who've probably booked flights for this, paid for hotels. They're going to be going to that game, and you can't really begrudge them that. They've probably organised this 3-4 months in advance, and they're going to turn up to that game. But maybe the locals, if you've got a season ticket for that game, don't sell it off. Either give it to charity, like you can do for the Man United Foundation, or don't turn up to the game. If you're thinking about getting a ticket for the game and you're local or you're from London and you're thinking about going to that game, do not go to that game. The players, the manager, the club don't deserve our support in that final game of the season. And I'm happy to back that. And it should be an action against the Glazers. At the same time, bro, like Eric, INEOS have come in and they've taken over football reasons, all sporting decisions from the Glazers. It looks like they're taking over financial decisions as well. So we also have to lay the blame on INEOS, but I completely get you. While the Glazers are still there, there's still like heavy negative connotation around INEOS and around the club and the culture. It's very difficult to change that unless the rat at the top of the head is cut off, if that's the phrase. Ryan's in the chat. He said 5 first-team players are required. Goalkeeper, right wing-back, CM, striker, left wing at a minimum, even a CB. I don't know if you missed that, Ryan, but I was just saying that as well. The core is dreadful right now. If you think about the core of our starting lineup right now, yeah? Onana, Harry Maguire, Casemiro maybe, or Bruno, and then Hojlund. That's probably the core of our team. Onana, crap. Maguire, yes, he's had a great comeback from where he was. Still probably not an outstanding centre-back. He does his job most times. Not great on the ball, though. A decent leader for a failure of a Manchester United, maybe. Let's say if it was a successful Man United, would he be that type of leader? Probably not. He'd just be a cog in the works. Bruno, I'm not gonna lie, I started to grow to like him as a captain, and I feel like he's been getting a lot of unfair criticism from yesterday's performance. I don't think he was as bad as everyone's making out to be. I think he was quite ineffective, and that's fair enough. But don't act like he was giving the ball away every single time, because we've actually seen him do that more often than not before. And yesterday, I don't know the stats, but I don't think he was as bad as everyone's making him out to be. Ryan said Maguire's still bang average, and I hear it. Like, it's hard to disagree with that. He's probably conference team centre back, or at least a team that's sitting in a low block, and is required to defend about 60 minutes of a game, 70 minutes of the game, and headed the ball out. That's fine. That's his job. He's good at that. But if you're trying to progress up the pitch, he's not got the capabilities for that. And yes, he's got a sick long pass on him sometimes where he can loft it to the left wing. Don't get me wrong. But if you're trying to build up from the back and play football, and actually progress as a team and have possession of the ball and keep control of the game. He's not that guy. Like Euro, for example. I thought Euro was our best player yesterday. When I think about it, he's the only one that gets the ball and progresses up the pitch and isn't afraid to take his man on, isn't afraid to break a line, tries to find a pass through the lines and find his striker, find the number 10. There was one point in the 60th minute, I felt so bad, yeah, because I saw Euro running with the ball from the back, yeah. He's gone past like 2 Spurs players. He's looking up. No one's coming to collect the ball from him. He had no options. I felt so sorry for him. And you can see he passed it off to the left, a little 5-yard pass to Casemiro, and he threw his arms up in the air while he's running because no Manchester United player is giving him the option to show that they can progress with the ball and take it off him and show some courage and take the game by the scruff of the neck. And this is a 19-year-old centre-back that's just come in this season. He's had a broken foot already, and he's coming in and dominating the game from the back on the ball for a Manchester United team. And he's our second youngest ever player to play for Manchester United in the European final behind Brian Kidd. And he's capable of showing the courage, and the rest of them aren't. Even after the game, I saw he looked devastated, more than a lot of the other players, to be honest. And obviously he's young, he's probably emotional. Yeah, it's just a nightmare. Haroon said, Bruno was horrible, man. He gave the ball away numerous times and lost it twice in the build-up to Spurs' goal. Okay, I hear you. About the goal, I understand he gave it away. But there was many other times that we could have defended that after he gave it away. So I don't think it's completely down to him. And also, I don't know the stats. If one of you can find the stats and tell me how many times Bruno lost the ball yesterday, I don't think it was that much. I just don't think he was as brave as he usually is. And another thing, like the Euro situation, no one's coming to collect the ball from him. So what do you expect him to do? The Geese is on the halfway line and you're expecting him to create magic. How? Hojlund's not making a run. Mount's Lord knows where in some half space doing Lord knows what. Ahmad probably didn't have his best game but tried his best. But also the Spurs, you got to give credit to the Spurs midfield because they dominated Bruno, to be honest. And look, Bissouma, Sarr, Bentancur, they're not exactly like the most attacking players, but they'll do the job for the team. And that's what they did on Bruno, I think. So I think he was a bit outnumbered. That's why I'm not going to criticise him as much as some might be. Tunjay said, shout out Tunjay, staffing needs a complete overhaul too, specifically scouts, physios, analysis, etc. And I agree with you, and I feel like that's what INEOS have been trying to do with the cutbacks on all the staff. And you could argue that's probably going wrong at the moment. But yeah, the scouting obviously needs an overhaul. The coaching, I think we've had so many coaching overhauls the last few years. You could argue none of them have worked. Maybe Ollie's had the most joy in terms of getting good football out of them, finishing high up in the league. But overall, none of them have worked. None of them have bred a winning culture. But yeah, you're right. He probably does need an overhaul in a lot of the staff. Ryan said, Bruno had a poor game yesterday, but has been carrying us for months, so it's not on him. I completely agree with you. Admittedly, you'd like your best player to be able to turn it up in the final. But how many times has he turned it up throughout the whole season that he needed some help there yesterday and there wasn't any? No one was coming to help him out on the ball. No one else showed any courage to get on the ball. I actually thought Casemiro did all right the first 20, 30 odd minutes. I thought he was brave on the ball as well, made a few crucial tackles, looked really fit as well. Second half was pretty non-existent in the game, but the game didn't really require a Casemiro. Eric the King said, sit-in protests after the games will have an impact financially as security staff stewards will have to stay behind until the fans leave. Not as much of an impact as games getting called off. Yeah, you know what? You're completely right. And if that can get organised, I'll fully support it. Next season, I'll be there. I'm a season ticket holder now. Anytime I can protest against the Glazers, I'm 100% for it. So if we can organise something to get them out or do as much as we can to financially impact the club, to affect the Glazers, I'm all for it. Ryan said, Euro, Dorgu, Ahmad were the only three able to compete physically, it felt like. I would argue Casemiro as well in the first half, maybe not so much the second half. And this is why it doesn't make sense for not to play Ugarte, because yes, he's not the strongest, but at least he puts himself about the pitch. He gets across the pitch. He helps out Casemiro. It's worked in the quarterfinal and the semi-final, the Casemiro-Ugarte partnership. You've seen it work in the Europa League, and I know we're playing a Premier League team. I kind of get why he played Mount, because Mount's a runner. He works hard for the team. Maybe has a bit more quality on the ball than Ugarte, and maybe he wanted Bruno there in the middle to help out. But we had a winning formula against Lyon and Athletic Bilbao. Ugarte, yes, not great in possession, but he did also get 2 assists, I believe, in the Bilbao game. And he does cover so much ground that he can help out the team, especially a team that is clearly physical, clearly fitter than us in Tottenham. Yeah, also on Dorgu, I thought he did well, obviously, he's a young player. He's coming to United in his first season. Well, he only came in January, and he's not really played that many games for United. Played with the freedom I'd like to think a young player should as he's coming into Manchester United. But yeah, I want to shout out Dorgu as well, because it's not easy for him to come into, even Euro, to come into the shittest Man United team in the last 50 years or 40 years, and to try and play your best and to take leadership and responsibility like Euro did, like Ahmad tries, like Dorgu did. I respect that highly. And these are the guys you need to build your team around for the future. Haroon said, Euro, Dorgu, Ahmad, and Mainoo should be built around. Everyone else should be up for sale. Eric said, only Euro and Dorgu can hold their heads up after yesterday's performance. Haroon says 69% pass accuracy Bruno had. So fair enough, yeah, it's not exactly great, to be honest, and I thought it was higher in my head, but like everyone else is calling him out, so clearly I'm sure Bruno will be the first person to say that he didn't have a great game, which is acknowledgeable. I just don't think he was as bad as everyone else is making out to be. And on the point of Euro and Dorgu, I think Eric Ahmad probably deserves a bit of credit in the first half. He tried to take on his man, but he was getting doubled up on. Udogie had a great game. Sarr and Bissouma were covering anytime he got on the ball as well. So I think it was difficult for him. But in the main, I'd agree with you. Euro and Dorgu, the only ones, and I'd say Ahmad, can hold their heads up. Even defensively, I thought we did all right as well. Like, we didn't let Spurs create any chances. I think they only had 3 shots. So you could argue defensively that we actually did okay. Obviously, the goal itself, Dorgu probably should have been covering his man better or communicating with Shaw to follow Brennan Johnson. But Shaw's a senior player as well. Dorgu's inexperienced. He's in his biggest game of his life. How harsh can you be on the kid? He's been thrown in at the deep end. Realistically, Dorgu should be growing into the team. He shouldn't be starting for Manchester United this early on. But he is. And on the point of Mainoo, I want to bring that up because Haroon's brought him up. I think it's an absolute disgrace, and I don't use the word lightly. I think it's an absolute disgrace that Mainoo got 2 minutes of normal time and 7 minutes of injury time at the end of the game. If your formation and system, look, I'm not saying Amorim out, because like I said, I try to think as positively as I can. I want to give the manager more time. He's only had 1 transfer window. He's got a crap squad. These players have let down manager after manager, good manager after good manager, for me to think it's not just the manager. But if your formation or your system does not allow a player of Kobbie Mainoo's ability, and the fact that he's come up from the Man United Academy, the fact that he scored a winning goal in FA Cup final last year, and you can't fit him in the team, I think you need to take a long, hard look at your formation and your system and the club you're at and think, maybe this isn't the right way to play. It's an absolute disgrace that he only got 7 minutes of stop injury time and 2 minutes of normal time on that pitch yesterday. Eric said, are you worried that Amorim has stuck with Rasmus up front instead of trying something else like Mount, Garnacho, Ahmad, anyone up front? I completely agree with you, because I hate to go back to the past, but Ten Hag dropped Rasmus in the final, despite him starting a lot of games last season. And you would have thought, okay, we've got Mount, we've got Bruno, we've got Garnacho, who's a runner. Hojlund is on dreadful form, even though I've tried to back him as much as I can. He's absolutely shocking right now. It's clear he shouldn't be starting that final. And to be honest with you, in the first 20, 30 minutes, I actually thought he was all right. He was holding the ball up well. He was being strong. He didn't really have much support about him. But he's not playing like a striker. Geezy's playing like a CDM up front, like a battler. And most of the time, he's not even winning his duels. He's not even challenging for a header. He does that thing where he goes into the back of a defender and acts like he's challenging for the ball. So yeah, sorry. To answer your question, I'm very worried that Amorim stuck with Rasmus Hojlund, because Amorim should know better. You're seeing this kid training week in, week out. You're seeing him in matches week in, week out. And you still think you should have started him in that final, in a game as crucial as that. And I get it. Obviously, we don't have many other options. Xerxes just coming back from injury. But you had options in terms of Bruno could have played false nine, Mount could have played false nine, Garnacho could have played false nine. But you chose to play Hojlund, who's been so ineffective and he's practically playing against us this season. Haroon said, I think the issue is we have no one that can play midfield next to Mainoo and make it balanced. We need a CM signing for sure. I hear you. But last year in the final, it worked. In the big game, and I get it, Amorim's on this thing where if he dies on that hill, he's dead. Like, because he's now said he's not going to change his system because that's not who he is. He's now stuck on that. Ten Hag adapted, and maybe that was the reason that it all came down in his head, because he gave in to the players' pressure and he decided to play how the players play rather than how he wants to play. And long term, I get it. As Amorim, as a manager, as a philosophy, I get it. You want to stick to your principles and you want to lead from that and take that into the future. So whenever any player comes into your system, they know how to play. But at the moment, we're not showing signs that we even know how to play his system. I think throughout the season, I'm not going to be reactionary. Throughout the season, there's been various times where you thought, you know what, I can kind of see what the players are trying to do. We've worked a couple nice triangles down the right-hand side sometimes with Ahmad right wing back maybe, or Ahmad down the right-hand side. Maybe Dorgu has done a few good overlaps so you can see where it might potentially work. But overall, it doesn't work. We had like 5 or 6 centre-backs on the pitch yesterday. Not centre-backs. We had 5 or 6 defenders on the pitch yesterday when we're 1-0 down in the Europa League final. And we got shut down by Tottenham. The worst Tottenham side in history. One of them. They're 17th right now. It's not like they're even good. So yeah, I was saying about Mainoo. Haroon said Mainoo can't get in because he needs a CM next to him. In terms of that, I don't know. I also don't feel like he's had the regular opportunity. He obviously had that injury situation. I think he came back in like February time, and he's not been allowed the opportunity to bleed himself into the team and work his way into a position, because we've had such a dreadful season. So I kind of get it at the same time. But then we've lost every game anyway. So you could have tried to get him in the team, because it looks like we've given up in the Premier League a long time ago anyway. Could we not have tried to put him in the team throughout the Premier League and see if he could work his way into position? Because I think that should be one of Amorim's main priorities. He scored a goal in the FA Cup final last year. He played in the Euros. He played in the Euros final for England as well. He started in the final, I believe. This is clearly a talented player. We've made him look shit this season. And it's really unfair to him as well. And I'm going to get to Garnacho in a bit as well. Tunjay said, thoughts on Rashi. I feel yesterday could have been his game. And this is another thing that Amorim's messed himself up over. And maybe it's more of the club, we won't know. Maybe the board told him yesterday they have to work on getting rid of him because of his higher wages and because we can get money for him as an academy player, maybe. But if Amorim also has a responsibility on that decision to get rid of Rashford, I think he has to take a long, hard look at himself. You're telling me that Rashford, he's been so poor and so bad in the last season or so, yeah? I get that. But you're telling me that you couldn't get a bit out of him more than Rasmus Hojlund right now? And I know a lot of people, rival fans, might say, look how he's doing at Villa. He's not doing amazing, firstly, let's be realistic. And secondly, yes, he does look a bit better than he has done in the United shirt of late. But the pressure situation is different. Villa are on the up. We're obviously heavily on the down. And Marcus Rashford at Man United right now probably isn't as effective as the name Marcus Rashford sounds, if that makes sense. So, but I do think Amorim has to take responsibility for allowing Rashford to leave the club if it was his decision as well. Because he's left himself short up front himself. Because he obviously must have known Sancho was going, Anthony was going, etc., etc. So Amorim has to take responsibility of that decision as well. And personally, my thoughts now are that Rashford should leave because it's so toxic between him, the club, the fans, the manager. I don't think he's got any other option but to leave, which is really sad as well, by the way. He's one of our top goal scorers in the club. I think he's like 16th top goal scorer for Manchester United in their history, which is remarkable. He's one of our own. He's a Manchester Academy lad. And this is what we've done to him. And we've done to several other players throughout the club because of the culture of the club and how toxic and negative it is. Eric said, Mainoo is class, but he lacks a bit of pace. He'd be better suited in a 3-man midfield. I completely agree with you. But if you're not going to give him the opportunity to get up to speed, it's a bit unfair, I feel like, for us to judge him. He's still, what, 19 years old, 20 years old? I don't think he's been given a fair opportunity under Amorim to work his way into the team, whether that's at CM next to Casemiro or next to Ugarte, or whether that's in the left 10 or the right 10 situation. Because when he has played there, he hasn't looked amazing, but you've not given him a run of games to be able to get up to speed. And I don't think he doesn't have the pace, but he's clever with his brain. He's technically sound. He's strong at holding the ball. He doesn't necessarily need the pace. As long as he's smart enough to get into the right positions, he could have an effective impact on the game. Let's take it on. I was going through from the back. So I've mentioned Onana. I've mentioned our core. Mazraoui, I don't think he was that bad. Did look a bit leggy overall, though, which is understandable because he's played so many games for us. I even think I heard that he was a vegan. Don't quote me on that, though. No, I heard he didn't drink fizzy drinks anymore, actually. And remember, he even played for us while he was fasting as well. So that guy's a warrior. I'm not worried about him. Right wing back, probably not his best position. He's probably either a right back outright or maybe a right centre back, probably where he plays best. But did we have any options? I'm not sure I can blame Amorim for that, because did we have any other options to play anyone else on the right? Maybe Dorgu, play him on the right, and then you play Shaw left wing back. But then that means you have to bring on Lindelof into the pitch, and I'm not sure any of us want that either. So I think Mazraoui had to play right wing back. I know Dalot was on the bench, by the way, but clearly he was too injured to play. Or he came on late, didn't he? He came on. Yeah, he came on, and that's what led to Maguire going up top. So, but obviously he wasn't fit to play a full 90 or 60 odd minutes, I believe. Clearly forced himself back just to play in the final. And Dalot, man, like, you get the ball, you're in like the right half space, in the right 10 space, and you're crossing it. And to be fair, I think he had one good cross, but it's just not the person that you want on the ball when you're chasing a game. Like, who do we have trying to cross it in? At times we had Euro trying to cross it in. At times we had Dalot trying to cross it in. At times we had Dorgu trying to cross it in, and he's not had the best crosses I've ever seen so far in the United shirt. He's still young, obviously. Shaw put in a few decent crosses, I think, but you're putting in a cross to Rasmus Hojlund up front, to maybe even Xerxes, who's not the best headerer, to Harry Maguire at the end. Why is Harry Maguire our best attacking threat in 2025? How? People were saying we should get rid of this guy 2-3 years ago. He's our best attacking threat. How? How is that allowed to happen? And like Amorim, for such a guy that is so principled, believes in his system so much, does the system even matter when you're relying on Harry Maguire to get a goal for you? Your system's finished. At that point, play 4-3-3 or something. Get Mainoo in the team. Get wingers on the pitch like Manchester United do, and change it up. Not resort to Harry Maguire. Yeah, I was going through the back. I think there's another comment, sorry. Eric the King said, Rashford's attitude is poor. I'm glad Amorim sent him packing. Rashi thought he'd be going to Barca, Madrid, Juve, Milan, Munich, and ended up in Birmingham. A couple laughing emojis as well. Look, I love Rashford just for the fact that he came up from the academy, just for the fact that we've witnessed what he's done for Man United in the Man United shirt, which we can't downplay. At the end of the day, pardon me, we can't downplay it. At the end of the day, he's living out our dreams as well. But yeah, I agree with you, Eric. His attitude in the end was poor. I try to always see the best in him, like I do with most things. But at the end of the day, at the end of Rashford's United career, or his performances in the United shirt at least, they were poor. And half the time, like at this point, Hojlund was doing better than Rashford even now for a United shirt. What they've done for a United shirt in their recent games. And that's not saying a lot on Hojlund, but it says more of a vindication on Rashford and his performance in the United shirt. And yeah, obviously, I think he definitely thought he was going Barcelona or something, and man turned up in Birmingham. So yeah, you know what? Shout out him, man. He got to FA Cup semi-final. I don't think he played. They finishing probably in the Champions League, I think, Villa. So he's probably not that disheartened, to be honest. He's probably thinking, oh, look at United, they needed me. or he's probably thinking he would have made United potentially do better this season, which was probably delusional because he wasn't going down that path. We'll take on to the rest of United team. Sorry, I think Shaw did look sluggish, to be honest. He's just coming back from injury, so it was to be expected. He didn't really look that sharp. But you have to seriously question, how does he come back for the final? But where has he been all season? He was there for England's final as well. He then got, I believe, another knock. He got another knock from that England game, right? And then he was injured for the beginning of our season. He was out for so long. Please, the Luke Shaw project is done. We've said it for so many times. I'm sure all of us on the Keep ourselves must have said, get rid of Luke Shaw. How is he still at the club? I don't understand. He doesn't play enough games. And yes, he's a good player when he's on form. He doesn't play enough games. Get rid. Like I said, I don't even think he was that bad yesterday. He weren't one of the worst. But he wasn't exactly prime Luke Shaw. He's not even a centre-back, bro. We're playing him at left CB. And yes, I know he's done well in certain games at left centre-back role, but he's not a centre-back. He's meant to be a left-back. He's got quality on the ball in attacking areas, and we're playing him further behind than where he should be. Euro, like I said, I think he was our best player yesterday. I'm really excited to see. I think Euro is a real deal, and I say that confidently and not delusionally, as I might say often with a new signing. But his class on the ball, when you see him play on the ball and run forward with it, and see how composed he is and confident he is. Bro, I saw at one time in like the 30th minute, he was trying to twist up, or like the 40th minute, he was trying to twist up two Spurs players in his own box. I think he gave it away, and luckily someone else was covering him. I think Dorgu was covering him. But the confidence on that guy to do that in Europa League final, I loved it, man. And he's the only one that runs forward with the ball. Like I said in the 60th minute, when he's running through with the ball and he had no other options from Man United players helping him out. It's an absolute disgrace. He was looking up and he throws his arms up in frustration because he had to pay a 5-yard pass instead of a forward pass in front of him because no one's showing for it. Maguire, like I said, defensively, I thought he was all right. In possession, not amazing. Didn't really speed the ball up. Passed the ball a bit behind his players. But anyway, Mazraoui, I spoke about. Casemiro, like I said, he played all right in the first half. I think he looked quite sharp. Second half, pretty non-existent, but you didn't really need him in that game state when you're trying to create something. I think he had one decent header, if I'm not mistaken, and he's done pretty well in the air of late, especially this season, and even last season as well. I think he scored quite a few goals for us from headers. Who was next to him? Bruno was next to him. Like I've said, I think people are being a bit too harsh on him, to be honest. I think a lot was riding on Bruno to turn up yesterday for us to have any chance to win, and unfortunately, you could probably say that he didn't really turn up. I think he tried as much as he could, but in the end, outnumbered and not good enough, I guess. And he's our captain, so. And sometimes people say that he sets the tone because of his attitude, and you could see in the first few or 20-odd minutes, he was getting a bit rattled with the ref, didn't agree with a few decisions, understandably so, but you got to keep composed. If your captain's losing his head, if I'm playing football and my captain's losing his head, I'm allowed to then lose my head as well. It shouldn't work like that, but just naturally sometimes in the game state, that happens. Your captain, he needs to be 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 every single week for the rest of the team to have a great game. That's what I think. I think it has such a major impact. On the left hand, Ahmad, I've said, I think he tried in the first half. Second half, he got doubled up on a lot and probably didn't have his best game either. Hojlund, I thought, was okay in the first half-ish. Held it up well a couple of times in the first 20-odd minutes. After that, he goes back to his usual thing of what he's been doing this season, doing that fake challenge where he looks like he's going to go for a header and isn't actually trying to attempt to header the ball. I'm sorry, but that's not acceptable. How can you constantly see the ball come to you in the air and you let the defender win it 9 times out of 10? Get your head on it, get your chest on it, pass it off to your player. Is there no such thing as link-up play anymore? And he's a big guy. He's a big guy. He's got like the tools to be a decent striker or a good, strong player, maybe even a hold-up player. He's got pace as well. We've seen him run fast. He doesn't even run in behind anymore. What are you providing to the team? Where's the movement from a striker? And I get it. Over the course of the season, he's probably frustrated. A lot of the times, forward players like Garnacho, for example, hasn't found him in the right places when he's made the run. He's so frustrated. He's so low on confidence. He can't do a lot of things right at the moment, Hojlund. And then we come to the left 10, the Mason Mount, yeah? I'm sorry, what is this obsession from Amorim with Mason Mount? It's bordering on Eric Ten Hag's obsession with Anthony. What has Mount showed you to deserve a start in the final of the Europa League? He's barely played any games for United, and you think he's going to start in the biggest game of the season. Okay, he scored in the Champions League or got an assist or whatever for Chelsea before in the Champions League final. But what has he shown you in your Man United shirt for him to be starting in that final ahead of Garnacho? Garnacho's a 21-year-old kid, and I promise you he's done way more for Man United than Mason Mount has ever done for Man United. And I know Garnacho's been speaking up after the game, which I'll get into shortly. But Mason Mount and Ruben Amorim's obsession with Mason Mount does not make any sense to me. Yes, okay, I get it. He's a fit player. He's technically better than Ugarte, so I get why he played over Ugarte. But he's not... This is the past. This is history. Okay, he had a good spell in Athletic Bilbao second leg. We were already 3-0 up. He scored when it was 3-1 on aggregate. Cool. Made it 4-1 on aggregate. Cool. That's not enough to get you a place in the final. You did that at Old Trafford. What have you shown in the Man United shirt that you're capable in playing the biggest game of the season in Bilbao in a final against a Premier League team as well? What has he done against any Premier League side this season or last season? Okay, he scored against a goal against Brentford or something, which we then conceded the equaliser after anyway. He should not have been starting that game. He didn't do nothing in an attacking sense either. I don't remember one thing that Mount did in an attacking sense. And I'm sure he's a good player. It would be reactionary of me to say that Mount is a crap player. I'm sure he's a good technical player. Like he did in the goal against Bilbao was a good goal. Both of them were great goals, great finishes. But you've not done enough over the course of a 90 minutes in a Man United show, or even a 60 minutes outside of his finishes, to suggest that he's capable of starting in a final. You don't do enough for the team. Okay, you run about, but you're not providing anything in an attacking sense, other than your 2 goals against Bilbao. And my frustrations with that is Garnacho should have started. Garnacho is one of our most direct players. I think it's a travesty the way he's been treated. Even the rumours in January, the fact that they were trying to sell him, I think is absolute disgrace. This kid, yes, okay, we signed him from Atletico Madrid when he was younger, but he's come up from the academy our academy since he was about 17 years old. He scored in the FA Youth Cup final, which is major. He scored in the FA Cup final alongside Kobbie Mainoo, which is major. And then you drop him for the Europa League final. I swear he scored in didn't he score against Lyon? Pardon me. I need some water, man. My voice is starting to hurt. Yeah, didn't he score against Lyon or was it Bilbao? I can't remember. But he's clearly a threat whenever he plays. I know he's got poor decision-making sometimes, but he's more often than not, he's a threat when he's on that pitch. And yes, he doesn't always create. He doesn't always get a goal or assist. But I think this is his best goals and assists season so far, and he's still young. He's still improving year in, year out. And I think over the course of this season as well, remember, he couldn't even get in the team at first. But he worked his way into the team. He worked hard for the team. Amorim said he's been learning off him. Amorim said he's deserved his place in the team. He's actually improved over the course of the season. And you can't say that about many players in our team. I think he's one of the ones that have improved. Yes, his decision-making still isn't great. His end product, it still isn't great. But he's still got decent numbers in a poor Manchester United side. And he's still a young kid. I feel sorry for Garnacho because we've relied on him so much over the course of 2 seasons, in his first 2 adult seasons at Manchester United. It's really unfair because he should have been bled into the team slowly, like, obviously, he who should not be named, a.k.a. Mason Greenwood. The way he was brought into the team and played in by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was a masterclass in how to bring through a young, talented player into a United side. Garnacho should have had the same treatment, but because all the players around him have been so bad, we've been forced to rely on him as our main attacking goal threat from the forward lines, which is poor. And it's so unfair to him as well. And then it's so unfair for him to not start that final. And it's against Porro. Porro's not the greatest defensive player. But if Garnacho goes up against Porro and has him going the other way, or if Garnacho goes up against Romero, who's his Argentinian teammate, and there's a bit of like mind games there. Maybe Romero might not go as hard on Garnacho. Romero's a bit of a madman, to be fair. He probably would. But maybe he might not go as hard on Garnacho as he might do on a Mason Mount, for example. And that might give the Garnacho the edge. Or Garnacho's been training with Romero and maybe knows his weakness or knows what way to take him on, for example. Obviously, Romero's a great centre-back, though, so that might not be the case. But especially against Porro, I can imagine Garnacho having some joy. Even when he came on, he looked like a threat. He runs at players. He tries to take them down the line. Yes, he's a bit greedy sometimes, and he had a shot that was well saved by Vicario. But at least he's a threat on goal. Mount is no threat on goal. Hojlund's no threat on goal. Ahmad tries his best. He was close with one shot as well, and another, I think, cross shot as well. And he's a threat on goal, to be fair. But he's just coming back from injury as well. Not the sharpest, Ahmad. Garnacho's pretty sharp right now. He's fit. He's probably actually overworked, to be honest. We've played him so many games. So, yeah, I think Garnacho definitely should have started, to be honest. Anything else to mention on the game? I think that was the game itself. So, I think the question comes down to Amorim now. I don't know what you guys are thinking. Would you keep him? Or, obviously, the club seem like they're not going to sack him. I think regardless of the result, he was always going to keep his job. I believe, like I said, I believe in the best of people. From what I've heard from Amorim so far, or from what we've seen from Amorim so far, what could you say are the positives? Because I'm really struggling them right now. I'd say, I believe we haven't lost against Liverpool, Arsenal, or City so far under Amorim. Cool, that's a big positive. But at the same time, I was going to say we have been decent against big sides, but not necessarily, so I'm not going to say that. So I think that's one positive that Amorim shown, maybe with the system, the formation, the team lineup. Maybe the positive of Amorim so far is how we've played in the big games, how we performed in the big games. Because especially against the Liverpool game at Anfield, was it, when we drew 2-2, we had a great performance there. Dalot tore up Trent, which I'm going to miss. Bruno put in an absolutely sensational performance that game. He was absolute masterclass, one of the best Bruno performances we've seen in the United shirt. And that's one of the only positives we've probably seen from Amorim. Other than that, it's not really worked for him. Our record is as bad as it's been. I think his win rate is like 29% right now. He's finished lower than any Man United manager in a Premier League season. It's one of our worst finishes in the league seasons in like 40 years. The Mount situation, his love for Mason Mount. But yeah, like I said, we do we give him more time? Okay, maybe. One of the things that I really dislike is playing three centre-backs all the time. Sometimes you can switch it up. Why does it have to be that your only formation is 3-4-3? Or whatever it is, 3-4-2-1, whatever you want to call it. Why is that the only one? Can you not have a little 4-3-3 in your locker as well? Can you not have a 4-5-1 when it matters? Look at Spurs when the backs were against the wall and they were in a final and they had a 1-0 lead. Ange actually brought on a defender. How are you getting tactically outworked by Ange Postecoglou and Tottenham Hotspur? You know, Amorim's played Spurs 3 games this season. So you'd think, after playing Ange twice, after playing one of the worst Spurs sides in history, you'd think, surely our manager is good enough to have learned how to beat this Spurs side. How to beat this Ange Postecoglou side, who's clearly been struggling over the course of the season. That's the same way we have been. In fact, we're actually ahead of them. So we're technically slightly better. But you've played them twice already. How do you then lose in the third game as well? That's absolutely shocking. I thought you'd be a better coach and a better manager than that. I think one thing that Amorim has on his side is the way he speaks in press conferences. He sounds like a great communicator. When he talks about what needs to be done at Man United, he says all the right things. He says things that you want to buy into. He says that we're not doing well off the pitch and we're not doing well on the pitch either. He's taken accountability. He said that he's not doing good enough as a Manchester United manager. And I respect that, because a lot of like Ten Hag, for example, he would have batted it away and said, we're playing well. I don't know what you guys are talking about in terms of the press. But Amorim will say happily, look, we're playing crap. We're one of the worst Man United sides in history, and that's statistically true. And he's not denying that. He understands. It seems that he understands what needs to be done at Manchester United. But unfortunately, we've not seen him prove any of that ourselves with what he's done for the club. I think someone's in the live chat. Let me just double check. Haroon said, sorry. 1 second. Haroon said, Ange didn't play the same way in the final and Amorim was far too slow to make changes and react. Should have made the changes at half-time. That's another thing. I'm so glad you brought that up. How did Amorim watch that first half and think, you know what, these guys are all right. Let's bring them out in the second half as well. We did nothing in the first half. We were losing 1-0. And I think he had the substitutions warming up for 15 minutes in the second half. How are you watching that game and not making a change? The game is crying out for a Garnacho maybe. Get Mount off. How are you bringing on Mainoo with 2 minutes left at the end? Even if you have to get Ahmad off. If he's not fit enough, get him off. If Xerxes fit enough for 30 minutes instead of the 20 minutes that you gave him, get him on. He was actually on form before he got injured. You made the substitutions too late. Anyway, back to Amorim. I was saying he's a great communicator. He says the right things, I think. And he sounds like he knows what it will take to take. What I love is how he talks about bringing back Manchester United to where they should be. And he understands that we're way off it. And he's honest about that. But is he capable of actually doing the job? Or is he just capable of spotting the obvious? We can all say the same things that he's saying. And I'm not a manager. I'm not a paid manager. So yeah, and this is the thing. Now, where do you go from here? You give Amorim the summer. You then spend another 100, at least 100 mil has got to be spent. 120 mil, 150 mil, probably going to be spent on Amorim to sign players that are going to play in a 3-4-3 formation, or whatever you want to call it. And then let's say it doesn't work out. But by the way, INEOS have to do that, by the way, because they've stuck their neck out. They've signed a new manager. They have to get him. It has to work for them. Otherwise, they look stupid as well. There's more going to be more fan discontent about INEOS as well. Ratcliffe's already getting sung about in every game. It's just going to get worse and worse for them at this point if they do sack Amorim. So now they have to back him. They're going to have to give him 120 mil, 150 mil. Guys are probably only going to come to Man United. Not only, but a big part of the reason they're going to come to Man United is for the money, because we've got no European football to offer. We're 16th in the league currently. Like, what's going to suggest to players next season that we are capable of rising back to being the Manchester United that we need to be? A lot of these players will come. Yes, okay, you're going to come because we're Manchester United, but some of them are going to be coming for financial reasons. But at the same time, INEOS are trying to lower the wages. So if they don't, then they don't. I'm happy for players to reject us, good players to reject us, if they're only, or one of the major reasons that they come in is for the money. If you want to come for the money, and that's a big part of the reason that why you want to come to Man United, don't come. I'm happy to sign players that will work their way up to being better players and improving themselves and being leaders on the pitch without European football to work their way up the ladder in the Premier League table, even if it's a slow process. I don't want no more mercenaries in the club. And yeah, and say it goes wrong and then Amorim has a big summer transfer window and then it goes wrong, we're then back to square one next season. You bring in another manager, he plays 4-3-3. You're now having to sell your wing-backs because you've got too many wing-backs. You're selling your centre-backs because you've got too many centre-backs. You have to now buy full-backs in. You have to buy wingers in. And at the same time, imagine they sell Mainoo and Garnacho, which will be an absolute disgrace, in my opinion. You're going to sell them because they don't fit in your formation. These are very good, talented players who've come out from the Man United Academy. You can't be thinking about selling a player like Kobbie Mainoo. This is a once-in-a-lifetime player. This is a generational player for a Manchester United Academy player to be that good, and for you to have to think about selling him is an absolute madness because he doesn't fit in your current manager's formation, who you might even get rid of next season. The club have to stand firm on that and not sell him. But I say that, and I don't actually know. There's a good chance that Garnacho and Mainoo will be sold. Which is absolute madness to me, man. Like, yeah. We have to think about, does Rashford go? Does Ugarte go? You know what? I thought this was going to help me, but actually like made me really frustrated even more. I went to football earlier today. I played for 2 hours, and yeah, for 2 hours I was actually free of thinking about Manchester United, and it felt good. There was after the 1 hour was played, there was an interval where the water break, sorry. And one of my mates that I play with, shout out Max, he was asking me about the United game, how do I feel? And then I was ranting for like 5-10 minutes. And then we started playing football again, and then I was relaxed again, and I completely forgot about Manchester United again. So that 2 hours of playing football, even though I've just come back from a torn hamstring, was absolutely worth it. It was so much fun and allowed me to escape from the depths of despair that Manchester United is. So yeah, anyway, I don't know where we're going to go from here. We've got the Villa game. Like Eric was saying, I hope we do protests. I hope there's protests against Glazers. I hope the positivity in me, the deluded guy that I am, I still think that INEOS have tried to make the right decisions. 1 year in, I know it's been dreadful. Everything's gone wrong. They've made some horrible decisions as well. But I think they've tried to make the decisions that are good for the club. Say, for example, it's not nice that a lot of staff have been sacked, but they did that to cut costs, and the club's been run atrociously by the Glazers financially, so costs have to be cut. But you should have got rid of certain players before that situation had to happen. They've gone about it in the wrong order, I think, but I think they've tried to make the right decisions. It's just not happened in the right order, like I said. I think someone's commented. Haroon said, we've needed athletes in this team. We are the softest team in the country, thanks to Ten Hag. Every signing this season has to be an athletic player, as it also covers your ass if Amorim gets sacked. I'm going to have to agree with you, I nearly called you Ten Hag. I'm going to have to agree with you, Haroon. As much as I always try to back Ten Hag, his signings have set us back so far. It's absolutely disgraceful, to be honest. It's horrible. There's not much else I can say about that. But yeah, we've desperately needed athletes in the team for years. We've needed a good, competent CDM for years. And yes, Casemiro had a good one season, but he wasn't the next gem CDM. He wasn't an up-and-coming warrior. He was a 30-year-old experienced leader. And then the next guy, we tried to replace Casemiro with Ugarte, and we've had to end up playing both of them next to each other because neither of them are good enough or up to the job that is required to play in this system or in any Premier League system that wants to be challenging for a title or challenging for trophies. Neither of them are good enough for that role on their own. So now what? We have to go and get another Ugarte replacement. And Casemiro is probably going to be going as well. We actually have to consider the fact we've got no European football, there's going to be certain players that are probably actually going to stay now. We probably would have got rid of Lindelof, Casemiro, Eriksen, because some of their contracts are running out. We might not be able to get that many players in. You might have to say to Lindelof, you know what? I'm going to give you a 1-year contract extension. We don't want it, but we might have to because we might not be able to get any other cover. Who's going to want to come to our club right now off the back of this season? You don't want to come next season. If you're actually a sane and actually good, competent level footballer who's got something about him, I'd be very surprised if you're coming to Manchester United right now. That's why the Cunha deal doesn't make sense to me. Because Cunha has shown he's a very good player, and he fits in our system like a glove, you'd like to imagine. But good players, by the way, have come to United and underperformed severely. So don't be surprised if even Cunha can't handle the weight of the shirt. But we'll have to see. Hopefully it works out well for him. You'd like to think he's the type of player that could do well in a Man United side. But you have to question Cunha's judgment. Like, I get it. You want to be the type of guy to take Manchester United to where they belong. And that's probably like the main motivation for Cunha, other than money, obviously. But he could have, I'm sure there would have been some other good clubs that were taking him. For example, Spurs will probably take him right now as well. And he'd probably do well for Spurs in like a forward role, maybe on the left, maybe in the middle, maybe centre attack mid or number 10, false 9, wherever you want to play him. Even I can imagine like an Arsenal even going for him as well, to be honest. Does he have certain attitude issues, which is why maybe the top clubs aren't going for him? Or is he firmly focused on Manchester United? Does he support Man United? Has he supported Man United for, pardon me, sorry. Has he supported Man United for a long time? I don't actually understand it, because from a footballing point of view, you'd be mad to go to Man United right now off the back of this season. No Europa, 16th in the league, not really many hopes of signing any big name players other than Cunha will probably be the biggest name player we'll sign now. Delap, is he even going to consider us now? Now, I'm sure he'd rather go Chelsea if they're in for him. Whereas before that, we might have got him with Champions League football and a trophy. So yeah, I'm going to start wrapping it up, guys. I don't know how long that was, but I got a lot off my chest. How long has it been? Oh, wow. Has it been an hour? Oh, my God. Time absolutely flew by. Thanks for joining me in the live chat. Shout out everyone that joined me. Yeah, get in the comments. Let me know. Should Amorim stay? Should Amorim go? Do you have any faith? Is there any positive things to look at next season? One positive you have to look at, no European football. Hopefully you make a few signings. Hopefully some of the mercenaries leave. Hopefully some of the excess baggage leave. We have to have a major rebuild, get rid of 5-6 players, get 5-6 players in that actually want to play for Manchester United, and it's not just for the badge. And whoever comes in now, you'd have to assume a lot of it is down to their desire to bring back Manchester United to the top, which is an important factor. So that's one positive to look out for. And the fact that we're not going to have many games the next season. So hopefully it'll be an easier workload on the players who clearly aren't fit enough to handle 3-4 competition at the same time. So yeah, that was my little therapy session. Hopefully you guys got to get some things off your chest as well. I hope it worked out beneficial for you. Manchester United are about to finish 16th or 17th in the Premier League. We've had no trophies for the first time in 2 years. We've had 5 finals in 5 years, but it doesn't feel like that right now. It's been a dreadful season. We're going to have more content coming out very soon about Man United with some of the United boys like Haroon and Ryan. United keep or sell, United end of season diagnosis. We'll take a look at some of the other clubs as well and see how they've done. Signing out, it's your boy Adnan. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out. I need to turn off the live, so